It would be unfair for me to make this video and just talk about how I think people don't care about space because it affects their worldview, because they're really religious, and it calls on them to question origins of life and all that. I think it would be really unfair for me to just go on a tangent in this video and talk about that. So just want to say off the bat, that's not what I'm going to do. I've always been somebody that's really into space and astronomy and looking at the night skies. And I've always enjoyed when I've gone on like backpacking trips and hiking and camping. That's one of my favorite parts of the trip, is getting out under the night sky and really just letting your eyes adjust and view just the heavens and seeing how we're supposed to see the stars. As somebody who is not a religious person, I will say that going out into the night sky is very much a spiritual experience to me. And I know that doesn't make a lot of sense, but this is going to be a tough edit, man. I'm really trying to stay on topic here. I may have written too many things down, and I'm trying to rush into it, and I'm tripping over myself. I'm still trying to figure out the best way to move forward with all this, with this channel. If you get anything from this, even just turn this off and go look up outside if you can. Even if you're in a city and you can't really see that much, it's still even just really cool to look at the moon, or if you can see a few stars or planets that are really bright, and know that those are places. Those are places that we can go. It's fun to let your mind wander through the possibilities of what could be in the future and what is right now, what's going on in those places right now. It might just seem that people don't seem to care about space because it is difficult to relate to. We're only going to live, at best, 90, 100 years. And so when people start talking about billions of years and light years, distances so long that you measure it, the distance of the light goes in a year, it's just so hard to comprehend. And I think that's why it falls short to fall on people's radar as something to really spend time thinking about, because we've not evolved that way. We've evolved to think about, miles and just short years, year to year, not something on this grand of a scale. Often space people like myself, or people that are really into astronomy, will overestimate how inspiring it is because it's inspiring to us. And we project that onto other people and expect them to feel that like we do. And it's sort of like religion in a way, somebody that goes to church and just really feels it. They know it, they can feel it inside them, and they want everybody else to feel that same feeling. And it's not that simple. Unfortunately, we can't project our emotions, our lived experience onto somebody else. We can try our best through words and through YouTube videos, or even with people that we know on a much deeper level. But yeah, I'm kind of getting lost in what I'm trying to say here. But I don't know, it might just be one of those things where if you don't know enough, then you're hesitant to engage with any type of conversation. And that's me. For example, I don't watch sports anymore. And when I hear two people talking about sports at work or something, it's something that I just, I'm not that interested in. And if two people have watched the game and I didn't watch the game, I mean, what can I really add to the conversation? So I think that's what happens when space topics comes up. Until we're actually going there and people start knowing people that are walking on the moon or walking on Mars or orbiting the Earth, or let's say there's a hotel that orbits the Earth and people can go up there for their honeymoon or something. I mean, until that starts happening, it's not really going to be something that people are really into, unfortunately. A big reason is that it doesn't affect daily life. I mean, learning about planets and stuff is cool and all, but it's not going to affect somebody's life on the day-to-day. There's so much other things to think about. There's politics, life, bills, you got to go to work, all the other stuff. There's not a lot of time to wonder a lot, unfortunately. Some conversations can go towards, why should I care about this? Why should I care about what's going on in space? I'm never going to be somebody that goes to space, most likely. And, people will say that to me. And you can have hope. You can have hope for what happens in the future and all this, and try to inspire people that way. But there's a lot of real world examples of things that have happened in space that have benefited us here on Earth. And it's also important to point that out, I think, to some people, because a lot of people will just think that we're collectively spending this money on astronauts. The government is, we're all paying with our tax dollars for some of these space programs, and people think that we're just doing that just to go. And a lot of science and engineering is being done during those missions. And there's been a lot of developments and breakthroughs that have happened because of those science missions that are happening in space. So I think it's important to bring that up if you're going to talk about space with people, because you can go on a tangent and tell them about, the moon of Saturn, or talking about Io or Europa, a lot of these moons in our solar system, that some of those could be places that harbor life here in our solar system. But I think once you start talking about that stuff, their eyes are just going to kind of glass over. But once you start bringing it down to earth for them and telling them, hey, this is something that's going to benefit our lives here on earth, then maybe that can sort of change their perspective and start to really pay attention to space in a different way. In their head, they're probably just going to be like, man, this guy's a nerd. I gotta work with this fucking nerd, man. People are gonna think what they're gonna think. I can just be me, man. That's all I can do. That's my purpose here. Just be myself. Another reason is entertainment. It's just you're competing with so much entertainment and an endless supply of YouTubers and sports, politics. And just people are just so busy, man. Their lives are so consumed with everything. And this whole conversation can make some people feel uncomfortable. I've said in previous videos, I do live in Tennessee. I live in the Bible Belt. And you would think like this kind of talk is hush hush around here. I don't know. You might think that if you don't live here, but there's a lot of Christians, a lot of people that are really into astronomy and learning about the night sky. It's not something that is reserved for atheists or agnostics or people of no faith, or it is for everybody. And Carl Sagan said it's a very humbling and character building experience to learn about the night sky and what's going on there. And I believe that wholeheartedly. And even just getting a star chart or something simple so you can sort of orient yourself in the night sky and just learn how to find the North Star and think about, really just, it's sort of like putting your brain into the fact that we're on a ball right now. We're on a ball orbiting the sun and the stars. It's more than just nerding out about planets and counting the stars. In elementary school here in the United States, we kind of just learned the planets. Then we drew them on a piece of paper, and I think we made a little 3D model of them, and that's pretty much all I remember. I mean, from grade school. So I wish it was more of a big subject in high school, but I know there's a lot of stuff to learn out there, and getting kids ready for the workforce is not my expertise. Okay, I'm trying to stay on topic here with why it seems that people don't care about space. People in general, I think, want certainty rather than curiosity. And with space, it's often like one answered question leads to 10 more questions. So it's sort of like we keep pushing the bounds of what we know, and we realize we know nothing about this place. This place it's bizarre. Just point to the sky and just be like, what's there? I'm just gonna, you can do this with Stellarium or one of these apps and just keep zooming in and just start learning about where you're zooming in. And then you come back, there's so much to learn about. And it's not just what's there. You can learn about how do we know what's there? How do we know that this is what it's made of? There's an endless amount of questions to ask and keep asking. It's infinite. Infinity will drive you insane, right? If you think about infinity too much, it doesn't make any sense. The way I like to think about the universe sometimes, let's say that there are no oceans on the earth. It's all land, and you just walk, and you're walking west. You're walking completely around the earth until one day you come back to where you started. Is that possible in a 3D sense in the universe? If you just keep going and you just keep going for an infinite amount of time, then you'll actually come back to right where you started. That makes absolutely no sense, but it's so big that it might actually make more sense than that not actually being possible. And that's why infinity will drive you insane if you just keep thinking about it. We're going to end it there because this video is starting to feel like it's infinite. But if you've made it this far, thank you. And this is just Mike talking, so we'll see you in the next one.